A Community at War is an exhibit honoring more than 200 years of military service by Black Canadians. To bring it to a wider audience, the Canadian War Museum worked with the Niagara Military Museum to present it in Ottawa. And Teresa Iacobelli, a First World War historian here in Ottawa, joins us with more. Now, this is the story of 22 Black soldiers and their experiences of sacrifice and systemic racism.
Correct. And among those stories, the 22 stories, is that of John Bright. He was one of 6 Black Canadians known to have received the military medal during the First World War. John Bright enlisted in 1915. In 1916, he was injured at the Battle of Mount Sorel when a shell exploded nearby, burying him alive and crushing his ribs. He went on to recover in hospital and returned to battle. In 1917, at the Battle of Passchendaele, he was awarded the Military Medal for extreme courage under fire. Unfortunately, Bright later died August 30th, 1918, during the 100 Days Offensive, but he is remembered today at the local war memorial in Fort Erie, and he is buried overseas in France.
Mm-hmm. And why is this story so important?
I think it's an excellent example of it provides a range of service of Black Canadians in the First World War. Many know of the story of the No. 2 Construction Battalion that served in the Labor Corps. However, it's also important to remember that a significant number of Black Canadian men also served in combat. And John Bright, who went on to be promoted to Lance Corporal and was awarded the Military Medal, is a great example of that service.
And another part of the exhibit is the story of 2 sisters, twin sisters.
Yes, the story of Connie and Kathleen Brown enlisted. They were among 50,000 women who served in the Canadian Armed Forces during the Second World War. Connie Brown joined CWAC, Canadian Women's Army Corps, where she worked in a number of positions, including repairing small arms in Toronto. Kathleen Brown joined the Women's Division of the Royal Canadian Air Force, and she worked as a leading aircraft woman. After the war, both women married, raised families, but they both remained extremely proud of their military service and frequently attended veterans reunions in their later years.
And this is a great example, too, of women, because there's not enough stories about women.
Absolutely, absolutely. In the Second World War, as mentioned, there was about 50,000 who served in uniform at some point, and that's not even including the women who stayed at home supporting the war effort, either through war work in factories or other means. So it's a significant part of the story that needs to be told.
Mm-hmm. And specifically Black women as well.
Absolutely, yes. There were a number of Black women that served in positions during the Second World War that are only now, I think, being recognized for their service.
And hopefully more stories like this come forward.
I think there will be. There is a lot more research being done on women, but also women from underrepresented groups, including Black Canadian women. So I think we're going to hear more of these stories as we go on.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
And here's a more recent example of a community at war with more recent service.
Correct. This is the story of Stephen Thomas, who is a recipient for the Medal of Bravery. Thomas served in Afghanistan in his first deployment in 2004. He returned again for a second deployment with the Queen's Own Rifles of Canada. And in 2006, he was in a situation where a suicide bombing occurred in the Kandahar region where he was stationed. He ran into the fire, saving fellow soldiers as well as Afghan civilians in order to perform some rescues and then to remove other pieces of detonation. Later, he made it out just in time before a massive explosion occurred, and for his actions, he was awarded the Medal of Bravery. And he continues to serve today with the Queen's Rifles of Canada.
Mm-hmm. Working with this exhibit, did you learn, is the racism, is it still there?
I think in various ways, yes. It's not. It's changed over time, but there are still barriers that are being overcome within the military for sure. But again, the nature of those challenges has changed.
Right, and that's why exhibits like this are so very important, so that we hear all kinds of different stories.
Right, and I think to show a continuity over time, and to show there has been progress for certain, but there are still challenges that are faced by certain communities.
Mm-hmm. Always helpful to learn more. Thanks very much,
Thank
Teresa.
You.
Now, the exhibit here at the Canadian War Museum has closed, but we'll have a link on our website, chch.com/morninglive, on where you can find more information.